With me now, Georgia Republican Congressman Tom Price, chair of the House Policy Committee and a member of the Budget Committee as well. Congressman, great to see you.
Hey,
First of all, let's talk about this cap and the balanced budget amendment as well. What is the point? Time is short. Everyone agrees it's not going to end up passing the Senate or, in any way getting to the president's desk for a signature. So what is the strategy here?
Well, you never know what's ultimately going to pass. I was struck by David Ignatius's comments right before the top of the hour, saying that the president hasn't engaged in a way that has allowed this debate to progress well. And consequently, we've put on the table a budget that would get us to balance. And in this instance, what we're putting on the table are short-term, mid-term, and long-term solutions to include decreasing spending in the short term, a cap on spending in the mid-term, and a balanced budget amendment in the long term. Those are the things that we believe the American people want and need in order to get this economy growing again and creating jobs, which is truly what it's all about.
Well, one of the arguments against the cap and the balanced budget amendment is that it doesn't explain or describe how to get there. So you cap the spending, but there are certain mandated costs that have to be paid, and you don't explain what the trade-offs are going to be.
Yeah, well, that's better than an administration that doesn't explain anything. Frankly, this is kind of modeled after the Graham-Rudman proposal of the mid to late 90s. And it's an effort to try to decrease the amount of spending at the federal level, control the amount of spending at the federal level. And you can't identify absolutely everything that ought to be decreased or held in check at this point in time. But that's what the committees are for. That's what the departments are for, to work through this again so that we control the amount of spending, put a lid on the amount of spending so that we don't spend more than we take in here at the federal government, and then get that economy rolling, make sure that we create those jobs that haven't been created by this administration.
Although, Congressman, with Graham-Rudman, as I recall, there were specifics in there where if something was passed, there had to be an offset. You couldn't approve something. You couldn't approve more spending. Now we're at a situation where you've got trillions and trillions of dollars that have to be dealt with, and you can't begin to even bring things into balance without some specifics. Let me ask you again about the McConnell-Reed plan, though. Let's say, just hypothetically, let's say that the balanced budget amendment does not pass as people expect, pass the House, doesn't get through the Senate. Would you then consider backing the fallback plan?
I think not. Again, we'll have to take a look at it and see if it does indeed come over from the Senate. But this is just kicking the can down the road. It's what the American people are so angry about, Washington not accomplishing and meeting the challenges that we face. It doesn't make any sense for me to have the legislative branch cede to the executive branch the authority to raise the debt ceiling without really an opportunity for the Congress to override that. The same kind of complaints that we have heard potentially on the balanced budget amendment with a two-thirds vote come into play with on the converse with the McConnell-Reed program that would be put in place. That is that Congress would never be able to keep the president from raising the debt ceiling, even if we had a better idea. So, look, the American people want us to address these remarkable challenges. When President Obama came into office, unemployment was 7.8%. Now it's 9.2%, and shows no sign of diminishing. What we need to do is something different, and that is what the American people do day in and day out, and that is not spend more than they take in. That's what government needs to do so we can get this economy rolling and create those jobs.
Now, there is a new CBS poll which shows now that 71% of the American people disapprove of the way the Republicans are handling the debt negotiations. And you've got far more people approving of the president than, of approving of what the Republicans are doing.
Yeah, Andrea, I guess the take-home message for the president would then be as nebulous as you can be and lack the specificity that you and the American people so desire. Because when you do put specifics on the table, as we have done in our budget, then people say, no, there's a better way to do that. Well, that's what this is all about. Let's have the debate, let's have the discussion, and then let's have the vote and move forward in a positive way, again, to create jobs across this great country.
Now, developing now, we have Senator Harry Reid, the majority leader, saying that the Senate is going to stay into session every day until this is dealt with. We now know that the Speaker did meet with the President. There was another meeting at the White House Sunday afternoon that had not previously been announced. Is the House prepared to stay in session every day as the Senate is?
Oh, absolutely. Look, this is the most important issue confronting the country right now. We are committed to solving this, to solving it in a positive way. We hope it's a very bipartisan way. but we haven't been engaged by the other side in a way that makes it terribly productive to this point. So, yes, we're committed to solving it and making certain, again, that we can get this economy growing, get this economy rolling, and creating jobs.
I want to ask you about something. This is the anniversary of Dodd-Frank, and we're talking about legislation that was supposed to at least make sure that we don't have another financial meltdown, whether or not it's working the way it's supposed to work or will work the way it's supposed to work. But one of the things that the House Appropriations Committee has done is cut the SEC's budget for the money that is going to implement, or that was to implement, the new requirement on the SEC to re-regulate. What's the point there? It's not going to cut any money out of the deficit.
Well, the point there is that we don't believe that Dodd-Frank is encouraging of a vibrant economy. In fact, we think that Dodd-Frank, as we mentioned at the time when it was passed, actually stifles and decreases the ability of the economy to work. It increases the oppressiveness of the federal government, has the federal government tell private businesses exactly what they must do. It decreases the flexibility of the regulatory agencies themselves. That's not to say that they did their job last time, because they didn't. But we believe that Dodd-Frank in and of itself is not helpful to the economy, and therefore will only decrease job creation when in fact we need to increase job creation, and that's what all of our proposals are about.
So you're basically handcuffing the SEC.
Not at all. What our proposal did at the time, H.R. 3310, allowed the SEC to work with the CFTC and the other organizations to make certain that there were appropriate regulations in place. It's not that there weren't enough regulators, it's that they didn't do their job last time. The Dodd-Frank proposal actually limits the ability of business to move and get this economy rolling again, instead of charging the regulators with the appropriate responsibility but not handcuffing businesses at the same time.
Okay, Congressman Tom Price, who says that the House is going to stay in session, so now it looks like it's going to be a long weekend and late nights as well for the House as well as the Senate until this does get resolved. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andrea.
Congressman Price.